What's up guys, this is Casey Underhill and I wanted to bring you a tutorial today. All these texture files I have taken the pictures and made myself, as well as every one of these models and textures that I've used for the models. If you're interested in following along with this tutorial, you can go to my website, caseyunderhill.com. I'll put the link in the description for the video. You can download the pack, you can get all the texture files. I'll include a bunch of extra texture files. I'll include a bunch of models for this tutorial. You can go and download that and follow along, or you can stop the video whenever you want to. You can model your own stuff in here. You can add your own texture files. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So here we are in Blender. Let me go ahead and turn on my screencast keys for you. Alright, so first thing we want to do is get rid of that lamp. And I want to get rid of these stupid arrows because they get in my way. And I'm also going to get rid of my grid floor. Where's display? Here we go. X, Y, Z, and my display and my grid floor. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, come over here to your scene tab. And under units, you're going to look for the real world measurements of metric or imperial. Now I live in America. I usually use imperial. I know I'm a weirdo, but I've been teaching myself metric, trying to memorize all the real world dimensions of metric system, since most of you guys do use metric. So I'm going to be using metric in this tutorial. If you want to use imperial, you can use imperial. There's nothing going to stop you from that. But let's go ahead and get started by making sure your cube is selected. We're going to go up here to where it says dimensions, and we're going to go 2.4, is it 2.74 meters. That is our average ceiling height, and we want to scale it on all of the axes except for the Z. So I'm going to hit S, Control Alt Shift Z. I know it makes your hand kind of look like a claw when you do that. Anyways, I'm just going to scale this up. The room is going to be fairly large compared to normal because our camera is going to need to fit back here in the corner. Normally you wouldn't make it that way, but just because of our camera depth, making sure that the angle is going to be correct, I want to make it actually larger than what it's supposed to be. So, let's see. I want 8.435 over here, I believe, and my y-axis should be 8.565. Now I've done this tutorial a couple times preparing, so I've got these measurements down. I've got them written down. If you want to play around with it, you can. If you don't get something that you like when we place our camera later, you can always kind of click and drag it out, make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever you want to do. It's pretty much up to you. I'm going to go ahead and hide that window here. Okay, so let me go ahead and load up the render that I made before. Computer's running slow all of a sudden for no reason. There it goes. Okay. Go to my UV image editor. I'm going to open my den. Okay. So, if we look at our den, there's a couple things that you'll notice that we're going to need to do. There are two windows here. There's a fireplace protruding here. And the floor is like a step up floor, step down floor. And the ceiling kind of follows suit with that. So that's what we're going to try to do first. I'm going to go ahead and shrink that down. We're going to go into our edit mode here. And we just want to loop cut. Let's straight loop cut it right down the middle. Just keep it right there. And then we'll loop cut it again right down the middle. Right there. And this is basically going to be our ceiling right here. And our recessed flooring here. So if I did this correctly, let's go to face select mode. I'll click on that, and I just want to extrude it out on the Z slightly. There we go. And do the same for the floor. Extrude. That one needs to be a little bit bigger than the ceiling because there's actually another step we're going to have to put in here later. But I think that is okay. The ceiling should be fairly done at this point. Don't think I need the ceiling for anything, so let me go ahead and select all of these ceiling tiles, and I'm going to hit P and selection, and what that's going to do is that's going to separate my ceiling from the rest of my model, and I'm just going to hit M2. It's going to send it to my second layer, so that way we can kind of get in here and see what we're dealing with. We can also now move our camera inside, so let's go ahead and do that. Put it right back here in the corner. Let's scale it down so it doesn't get in our way. And let's grab it down here on the Z. And let's try to get a decent position on it. Now, while we have our camera selected, it's probably a good idea to change some of the settings. So go over here, click on your little camera icon. Let's see. I think I had it set to the Blender camera. Sensor size was 27.9. Now, I'm not a photography guy. I'm really not. If these settings are not great, you feel free to make your own settings. This is just what I found gave me the greatest depth and gave me the better options, the better view. So 25 millimeters for the focal length and 27.9 for the sensor. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and lock my camera to view. And I'm just going to start moving it around a little bit to make sure I get let's keep it right back here in the corner. Actually, I'm going to raise it up a little bit and view it down, pull it this way a little bit. I want more of the ceiling in it than the floor. Alright, I think we're right about in where we want to be. For your camera rotation, it's always nice for like architecture or interior design. You usually want your X to be at a 90-degree angle and your Y to be at a 0. So if you can get that set up and then just kind of move your camera with the shift middle mouse button, kind of get it where you want it to be at here. Alright, that's good enough for now. We can change things as we need it. Anyways, let's go back to our cube here. So we have another step that's like recessed into here. So we're going to want to loop cut. Loop cut it right about here and just pull it in right about there is okay. Just eyeball it. There's nothing special about it. You can always move it if you need to. Well, I guess maybe you can't, but just eyeball it. It's not real hard. We're not looking for anything super fancy. Eyeball that one. Yeah, it looks okay. Okay. So now we're just going to go to face select mode. We're just going to select those faces, and we want to extrude them down again on the Z, about halfway in between that top step and your bottom step. So now we have these extra little faces here, so make sure that you're selecting those faces and X face to delete. I may have deleted the wrong one. Let me double check. Nope, we're going to have to make our own faces. Okay. Let's go ahead and delete these little extra faces here. Oh, sometimes it just does this. Thank you, Blender, for being difficult. Okay, I'm just selecting the vertices here and clicking, or hitting F. The F key is just going to create a face. And there we go. Boom. There's our steps. That was not too difficult, now was it? So, next I think we're going to do the windows. Yeah, let's do the windows next. Let's go back into face select mode, and I just want to select the floor make sure that you select all of the floor tiles here and spin it, get these floor tiles. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the ceiling. So I think I got them all. Let's hit P, selection, tab out. Let's just move that to layer 2. Oops, I selected both of them. Okay, grab that, move that back to layer 1. There we go. Okay, so now we have just the walls. This is the reason I separated the ceiling is to get the camera in there, but the reason I separate the floor and the ceiling is because I don't want these loop cuts for the windows and the fireplace. I don't want those getting in the floor and the ceiling, so I separate them from the walls so I'm not getting that extra geometry or anything. Let's see, this is our middle point for our room. Let's see where that ends up. Right about here. Actually, I think our camera needs to come over a bit. Maybe here. Yeah, that looks about right. So this is going to be the left side of our fireplace starting right here. So I'm going to go ahead and loop cut. I'm going to pull. Whoa, okay, it's got me going up and down. I think right about, right there looks good. Okay. Now, I just want to select that face, and I just want to extrude it. You can make this as big or as little as you want. I find something about that looks good. Okay. So, you can see there's like a big hole back here. We're really not going to worry about that. You're not going to see it. But what we are going to have to do is make a bunch of loop cuts in here, because we have in our reference image here, this white part here is going to need loop cuts because we're going to have to assign it a different material, and then we also have this recessed part in here for the actual fire. So let's see, let's go back to vertex mode and let's do a loop cut. Let's bring it down right about there. Looks good. Like I said, we're just kind of eyeballing it. It really, you can make it as big or small as you want. You can't go wrong. It's your project. You do whatever you want. Make it look however you want. Don't let anybody tell you to do it. Do it your way. Don't let me control the way that you make your project. Okay. We just want these kind of close to the side, but not too close. That looks about right. And then we're going to make 2 loop cuts in here. And then I want to scale those on, I think it's the X, nope, scale it on the Y axis. So I'm hitting SY. And I'm just going to scale that out right there. Okay, so now these parts here can be our new material for the fireplace surrounding. And this can be our recess of our fireplace. So let's go ahead and select that and extrude it back. You can make this a little deep, or you can make it kind of shallow. I'm going to make it right about here, I think. I like mine to be just a little recessed in here. Almost like a fake fireplace, like you see in a lot of those fancy houses where they don't actually work. They're just there to look good, I guess. Alright, so now I think we have the fireplace done. So our next thing is going to be the windows. Now this loop cut here is kind of thrown us off because our window sill on the side should not be this big. So I'm just going to go to edge select. I hit Alt and right click on it to get that whole thing. And I want to drag it on the Y. I want our window sill to be, yeah, right there. That looks good. Okay, so let's see. Nifty little trick, since we can't get to that back view by hitting any of our numpad keys. If you hit Control, let's see, for this, our numpad 1 is giving us this view. Numpad 3 is giving us this view. We want the opposite side, so what we're going to hit is Control numpad 3, and that'll give us the opposite view. That's a very nice little feature. If you don't know it, learn it, because it is very, very handy. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on this side. Loop cut it, eyeball it, Right there. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. Now, one thing I did forget on my last project that I did is you want to make a loop cut at the top. Not too big, not too small. It's just going to be a bit of a buffer for our window. You also want to do that right at the bottom. Boom. There we go. Okay, so now let's loop cut on the other side. Let's go right up about, we want a little extra wall on this side, so let's put it right there. And we want the same on this side. Now this side's not going to matter quite as much where you put stuff. We can leave that about right there, because if you look into our camera view, there's just a very tiny bit of this window sticking out. We just want enough so that our light can still shine through. So, don't worry about that one too much. However, we do need 2 more loop cuts in the middle here. So we're going to do that. We're going to scale that on the Y and pull those close in together. We want them right a little thicker. Right there, I think should be good. Let me check through my camera view. Yeah, that's right. There we go. Okay. So, now that we have that done, let's go ahead and go to face select mode. And we're just going to select these faces. You want to keep this middle part. This is going to be something that sometimes you can see, sometimes you can't. It's like a divider in between windows. I found in my original render for this I could see it very clearly, but in my newer render I decided to blow out the windows with light, so you can't really see it that well. But it's important to have it anyways, just in case. You also want to select this one. Obviously we didn't do the divider in here. We don't need it because it's not in the camera. So just delete those faces. Now at this point a lot of people would be adding materials to make actual glass material, or to put an actual window in there. I find in this render you really do not need it. We're going to put curtains over these and we're going to blow this whole window out with light. You're not going to be able to see any of it. The glass does not affect any of the rest of your render. It doesn't affect the lighting material. It doesn't make a difference. So if you leave these blank, just leave them blank. It's less work that you have to deal with. Okay. I apologize. My computer is running very slow again. I have no idea why. Speed back up, buddy. Come on. There we go. Had to catch up with me. Okay, so I think, let me check my original render. Oops. Okay, I think we've got everything. Got the recessed here. I've got the floor here. I've got the windows. Oh, one more thing. Before I forget this here. Hey, computer. Quit being slow. Alright, I forget this. I'm joining this area. I think it's slowing me down. There we go. Okay. This is a fairly large image size. Hey, this computer! It's driving me crazy. I'm hitting like 3 frames a second. If I'm choppy and all over the place, I apologize. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Let me see if I move it. Maybe if I move it. I'm running on a laptop here. Sorry, guys. That's all I got right now. Computer's a little warm. Maybe that's what's doing it. Okay. So one last thing that we need to do. Let's go into our camera view, and we're going to make a loop cut here for our red wall with the kanji symbol on it. So let's go to the loop cut. Place it here, and let's just drag it just off camera, maybe. There we go. Right about there. Actually, that was a little further than I wanted it. Right at the edge of the camera. Make sure it's past that edge of the camera, because if you don't have red over here, if it's just a tiny bit of gray, you end up getting like a pixelization effect. It's really weird, but trust me, you gotta put it just a little past the camera. Okay, so I think that we are all set. Okay, so let's go to our other layer. Let's grab our floor and our ceiling. Let's move that back to our first layer. I'm just hitting M and 1. That's moving it back, and then you can use the non-numpad number keys to move between layers quicker. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually set up my lighting. I'm going to go to my World tab. Oh, I'm still in Cycles, or Blender Render. Go to Cycles. Click my Use Nodes. I'm going to go to Environment Texture. Let's open this up. And this is one that I have not included in the pack. This is one you're going to have to go out and find for yourself because HDRs are very difficult to make. They're also, most people will want you to pay for them. You can find them for free online. You can find JPEG versions of them. You can use those. If you can find any HDR image, this will pretty much work for you. Just make sure you load it in. Environment Texture, I've got mine loaded in. I'm going to set my strength to 15, which is very, very high. But that's going to help us get a lot more light into this room, and it's going to blow out those windows, which is exactly what I want. Now at this point you can do a quick render if you want. I'm not going to bother because I know how it looks already. But you will see that the light should spill into the room pretty easily. What I'm going to do next is I think I'm going to do the curtains. Yeah, the curtains will probably be the better thing to do. So I'm just going to tab into my walls, and let's see, actually let's go to this side, and I want to go to my vertex select mode, and I want to click between these two, and I want to go mesh and snap cursor to selected, and then I tab out, shift A to add a plane. And I want to scale that. I think it's on the Y. Yeah, scale that on the Y axis. Just get it overlapping a little bit in between. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. So now let's rotate that on the Y by 90 degrees. Let's grab that on the Z. And you want the curtain to be through the roof. Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit up here. Now we're also going to, well actually, let me bring this down a little bit, because I'm going to scale it on the Z. About here, grab it on the Z and see where I'm at. Scale it a little bit more. Grab it. Right about there. Okay, that's about right. And make sure that you grab it on the X-axis at this point, and just pull it in a little bit. You don't want it to be over the top of your windowsill. You don't want it to be intersecting with any of your other geometry. So now that we have that curtain, let's go ahead and duplicate it. Pull it on the Y. We're just going to put it right here. And it doesn't matter that there's all this extra overlapping stuff. That's not going to be a problem. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and join these two together with Control J. Tab into edit mode, and I want to make loop cuts on them. I think somewhere around 16 was about right. No, let's keep going. Let's go 18. Okay, so let's loop cut the other one. Let's give it the same amount. Let's give it 18. Right here. And now what I want to do, let's see. I'm actually going to hit the, on the numpad, if you hit the slash key, it'll just hide everything except for what you're working on. It's a really nice feature as well. Oh, I should have made these an odd number. Oh well, it'll still do what I want it to do. I'm just going to select every other one of these vertices. And you can see, because I didn't make it 19, this would have came out even if I made it 19. I'm just going to have this extra left over here. I'm actually going to put it at the opposite end. No? Is that right? Did I want to do that? Yeah, let's I'm going to go into edge select mode actually. We'll start from there. We'll go this way. There we go. That's better. There we go. So now this part that's not being seen by the camera is not being affected. And I want to do the same for this side. You really can't see this end here because the fireplace will hide it. So I'm going to start from this side. We're just going to select every other edge. Like so. And I just want to grab that on the x-axis and just tug it out a little bit. Something like that. Yeah. Now you could get fancy if you really wanted to. You could do a cloth simulator. You could pin this up to at the top and let it fall down and get your wrinkles and stuff like that. But because we're blowing out the window with light, these become almost just a complete shade of white. You almost don't even need to do this ripple effect, but I still do it anyways. Okay, let's gonna hit that slash key, bring my objects back together. Check on my camera. Probably could have stood a little bit more loop cuts, but it's okay. That's still alright. That's still decent looking. So let's go ahead and do the material for these because it's fairly simple. Click on the new. I'm going to go to my compositor and let's see, pull my diffuse back. So I want to add a shader. Let's go translucent. Where the heck did that go? Add in a shader, add shader. Connect those two up. And then add shader transparency. And add shader, add, or mix shader. Pop that in. Pop that in. And we want something kind of low. Let's go with like a 0.15, I guess. 0.15. Yeah, that should be about right. We don't want them too translucent, but we don't want them to be like a solid block or anything. So, let's go back to the default. It looks like we are pretty much done with the actual modeling part. So let's get on with some of the texturing. Let's do the hard stuff first. Let's get it out of the way. Let's do the wood floor textures. Let's see. Go ahead and use nodes. Now with this one, I'm going to have to unwrap it. I think I made my ceiling separate, so let's move that to my layer 2. Actually, let's move... No, let's just hit my slash key. Okay. So I want to go to, let's go face select mode. Go to wireframe mode by hitting Z. You just want to select everything, and then we're going to go in, and we're going to deselect these ledges, because these we want to keep without the wood texture. Okay. So if I tab out, one thing that you got to remember to do is you got to hit Control A and apply the scale. If you don't do that when you unwrap, it's just not gonna look right. So let's go back in, tab, hit U, and click unwrap. Okay, so let's go into our compositor. Let me get rid of my arrows on this one. I want to zoom in a little bit, and I want to go to material view so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, first of all, let's add in a texture, image texture, and I'm going to open from my Den project. This is one of the textures that I'm going to include in your file. If you go to my website to download it, caseyunderhill.com, it's called woodfloor.jpg, JPG, whatever. And we're going to go ahead and, do I want to connect that straight? No, let's connect a, let's go to color and add in a hue saturation. And I'm going to connect that up. I think I found the best color for it was, it was 0.52 for the hue. 1.1 for saturation and 1.1 for the value. think... Oh, you know what? I messed up with the unwrapping. Okay, hold on. Let's go tab, U, project from view. Aha. Now look. Now our wood's going the same direction. You can see our wood's like really huge and blown out, and it looks really blurry. It's also facing the wrong direction. So what we're going to do to start off is I'm going to actually add in an input texture coordinate and a vector mapping node. And I want to connect the UV from the texture coordinate to the mapping node, and the mapping vector output to the vector input of the image texture. And I want to rotate it on the Z by 90 degrees. That puts it the right direction that I want it to go. For the scale, I want to go something big. Let's do 4. 4. Pow. Is that too big? It's still too big. Hold on, let me go to my wood floor. Come on. It's kind of a big image texture, so it might take a couple seconds to load, and my computer is junk, so probably going to take a little bit longer for mine to load. Aha, here we go. So I want to actually take my UVs, just stretch them out to the full size here. Stretch it out this way. Ta-da! Now we look like we've got about the right size, I think. I don't know. It kind of looks a little big still. I think I'll leave it at that. We'll see what happens. I think it's just because I'm really zoomed in. Okay. Anyways, let's keep going with this texture. So, next I want to add a glossy node. Shader, glossy. Pop that under my diffuse. Let's add a mix shader. Mix. Let's mix those two. And then I want to add a texture, image texture. This is another texture that I've added into the project pack at my website. Let's go textures. We're looking for wood floor NRM, or normal. We're going to open that up. And we want to add a vector normal map. Connect that up. Connect that into the normal of the diffuse and the normal of the glossy shader. And we want to decrease the strength. So I think the normal is going to be about a 0.5. Okay, so now we want to add in another image texture. And this time we're going to open up another one from, you guessed it, the texture pack at my website. Yay! Woo! Wood floor, specularity. Let's also add in a converter color ramp. So let's connect the image to the color ramp, then the color ramp into the factor value of the mix shader. Now I found most of the time when you do this, you could leave it set to this bright white color and everything will pretty much just work out okay. But with this wood flooring and the lighting the way it is, it blows the specularity way out. So we're going to want to click on that side and lower this way down. Bring it down less than half, actually. Yeah, right, yeah, a little bit more. Well, yeah, right there. Okay. One last thing that we need to do here is connect the mapping vector up to the vector of all of our image files. And that will straighten that out. Now, I might be able to do this last part, I might not. Let me see here. I'm going to add in a converter math, and I want to set it to multiply. And I'm going to connect the value to the displacement, and then I want to connect the very first image texture we added, the base image texture, to the top value of the multiply node. And then I want to set that to like a 0.2. It might blow it out a bit. It might not. We'll have to wait and see. Let me tab out. Let me click my border render here. And Shift B will get me a box select. You can see that red outline there. And I'm going to go into my rendered view. And let's just kind of see what we're dealing with here with the floor. Sometimes you got to do this multiple times with this rendering thing just to make sure that you've got it correct. For the normal map, I forgot to change from color to non-color data. I do want to change the glossy roughness while I'm in here. Let's go to a 0.5. Not 0.5, 0.05. 0.05. Let's see. Okay. Anyways. I want to rename this material. I'm going to name it floor. It's a good habit to get into of naming all of your stuff. I'm going to click assign, and then I want to make a new material. I'm going to call this plain white. And I want to go to my compositor, and I want to add in a glossy shader and a mix shader. Mix those two together, and let's make it about a 0.1 for the mix value. Okay, go back to my default. Now unselect everything, and I want to select these ledges that don't have the wood material and give it the plain white material. Okay, so now if we go into our materials, aha. Okay, now we're cruising. Alright, I want to unhide that. I also, there's something I forgot. I want to move this back to my first layer. Oops. Okay. Let me select the walls, and I'm going to add a modifier. It's going to be a bevel modifier. I want it about 5 millimeters. You can see it just kind of smooths out a lot of these edges. And I want to add it to the ceiling and the floor as well. I think you can just copy these over, but I forget the hotkey for it, so I'm not going to bother. And add it to the floor. 5 millimeters. Aha, now everything looks a little bit more rounded, a little bit better. Okay. So for our walls here, I want to go ahead and select everything. We're going to add a new material. It's, for some reason it took on the floor material. Why the heck did it take on the floor material? Actually, I'm going to pop out of edit mode and delete the floor material off of it. I think our ceiling took it too. Yeah. Did our curtains take it? Our curtains didn't take it. I did forget to rename it though, so let's go to curtains. Ta-da! Let's add a new material for the walls. Make sure everything is selected. We're going to name this, or no, hold on, don't name it. Nope, don't. Do not name it. Instead, go down here and select plain white. And we will already have that assigned to everything. Do the same for the ceiling. Make sure everything's selected. Add a new one, and we're going to go plain white. Assign that. And the ceiling is completely done. There's no more that we need the ceiling for other than to hold out the sun from getting in. So, dun 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 dun. Let's go back to the walls. Let's select this area right here. This is going to be our kanji area for our Japanese symbol, the red section. Dun, dun, dun. So let's add a new material. New, let's name it something. I name it kanji. Let's go to compositing. little known fact, I actually took 4 years of Japanese language classes in college, but even though I had enough credits to get my minor in Japanese language, I did not graduate college. So I didn't get my minor in Japanese, and I'm not very good at speaking it anymore because I haven't tried it in many, many years. So we want to add an image texture. Let's open. And also another one included in the pack at my website, caseyunderhill.com. You're going to get tired of me saying that. It's called kanji PNG. And I just want to connect this up to my diffuse. Let's get out of this render view. Let's go to material view. And I want to tab. No. I don't know that I assigned it. Hold on. Let me make sure. There we go. Assign it. I'll tab out of that so I can see it better. And add in a glossy shader. Mix it. And this one I actually want to mix very, very, very lightly. So, where did I set that at? I think it was like a 0.02, 0.02 I think. If you set it any higher than 0.02, the black on the kanji washes out in the light. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. You get like a gloss over that black and it just turns it gray. It doesn't look good. Anyways, we got to do some resizing here, so let's add in a texture coordinate node and a mapping node. Grab our UVs from here and here. Oh, I forgot something. Control A, apply the scale. We forgot to unwrap it. I forgot to unwrap it, not we. Don't blame me for that, Casey. It was your dumb idea. Okay. I'm going to do project from view again and open it over here so I can see. Let's scale it up. Up. Try and center it in here. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right in here. Okay, let's go back in here. I don't know why this is all transparent. Don't want that. There we go. Okay, that looks, ooh. No, that totally just turned out perfect. Last time I did this, it was all like upside down and backwards and sideways, and this time I just unwrapped it. It was perfect. You do not need the mapping node. You don't need the texture coordinate node. You can get rid of those. If it did turn out incorrectly, you have to play around with that mapping node. For some reason, sometimes if you unwrap it weird. It'll be upside down, backwards. Play with the rotation settings of the X, the Y, and the Z. I think last time when it was upside down and backwards, I had to rotate it on the X by 180 degrees. So just play around with it if for some reason yours did not turn out amazing and perfect like mine did. So we have that. We need to go back in edit mode and let me think here. Actually, let me move my ceiling out of the way again because we're going to be working on the fireplace. Let's go into here. Oops, I tabbed into the wrong one. So let's grab the inside of the fireplace. We do not need to unwrap this one, don't worry about it. This is just going to be a basic, yeah, I can't see the top of it. Right there. Okay, this is just going to be a basic black texture, basically. Let's rename it to Fireplace Interior. And go back to Compositor. You can split your window if you want to as well. I didn't mention that, but you can split your window and do the compositing over in a different window. I just like switching to Compositor. I like having it all neat and tidy on both areas. For this one, we're going to do pretty much the same thing we've been doing. We're going to do the glossy. We're going to mix it. Add glossy and add the mix shader. And we want that like a 0.1. And for the diffuse of this one, just drag it to black. Now what I like to do is go to my settings in the viewport. I like to make this actually a black color, so that I can tell it apart when I'm in solid view. And don't forget to assign it. Alrighty. So I think we're pretty much there on that one. Okay, next we're gonna have to do, oops, I have an extra face here. Don't know why. Let me assign that. I still have an extra face. Well, now I have no face. Now it's the floor. Oh well. Oh well. Oh well. It works. Anyways, let's go ahead and start grabbing the outside of the fireplace. You don't need to grab this top part. You're not going to see it. It's covered by the ceiling. Just make sure you're grabbing all of this stuff. Leave this little area around the black, because that's going to be that extra little white texture around the fireplace. Okay, so we have that. I think I should be able just to unwrap that. Let's add a new texture. Let's name this fireplace bricks. And assign it. Let's go back to our compositor. Yay, compositing. It's so much fun. I love compositing, Casey. Let's add in a texture, image texture. And you guessed it, we're going back to the pack on my website, caseyunderhill.com. Woo! Okay, this one is going to be called brick.jpg. JPG, whatever. And we want to connect it up. Pow! This one's also going to be a little big, so let's do the input texture coordinate. I think I need more space here. And in a vector mapping. My mind went blank for a second. Plop that in there. Connect it up to the vectors. And I think I want about a 2 scale on this. So 2, 2, 2. See if that's small enough. I don't know, maybe a 2.5? 2.5, 2.5. Let's try that. Yeah, that looks better. That looks better. Alright. So now we're basically just going to do the same setup that we did for the wood floor. So let's add in a texture, image texture. And another included in the pack on my website, caseyunderhill.com. You're going to get tired of hearing that. Anyways, you're looking for the normal map of the brick. So brick norm. Add in the vector normal map. Connect that up. And we're actually going to leave this at 1. Make sure you switch it to non-colored data. Add in that glossy shader. Connect your normal to the diffuse and the glossy normal. Add in your mix shader. Hopefully I'm not going too fast for you guys. I've done this quite a few times to prepare for this tutorial, so if I am going too fast, yell at me in the comment section or something. You can always pause the video. If you really want, you could probably email me, aneroph, aneroph @hotmail.com. Maybe I'll send you a download for it or something. We're going to add in another image texture. And we're looking for the specularity for the brick. So brick spec. And we want to add in converter color ramp. Connect that up. Connect the color from the color ramp into the factor of the mix shader. We want the white to be way, way down. Bricks are not generally all that glossy. I think that should be about right. And make sure you connect the vector of your mapping into the rest of your images, so your specularity map and your normal map, or else it's just not going to look right. Okay. Go back to my default. Make sure I assigned that. I did. Okay, so I'm thinking that we are pretty much done with texturing. I think. Let me get rid of my border. I want to set my resolution down. You guys can keep it to whatever you want, but my computer's not that great, so I'm gonna go to a 1280 by 720 resolution. Also, if you're having a lot of trouble with fireflies, you can play around with samples. More samples is better. If you clamp it at about a 5, and then you go to light paths and set your bounces down from max 12 down to, I think it's about 8. You click your no caustics button, and then I think that's pretty much all you can do. I like to set my tile size down. I think everything's good to go. Okay, let me grab my ceiling, make sure my ceiling comes back to my first layer. Alright, I'm gonna give this a quick render and we'll be right back. Okay, so I gave it a quick render at 50 samples, and aside from the massive amount of fireflies, which are just gonna be there with that little amount of samples, everything is looking pretty darn good. There's one more thing that we need to do that I kind of forgot about. You want to select the walls. I'm just going to hide everything else. The windowsill. This part here, going around the fireplace. Make sure that you select all of these. I like to have a black texture on these instead of the white wall texture. Actually, let me do another loop cut on here. There we go. Oh yeah, I gotta reselect them. Oh yeah. I didn't think that through. Let's see if I can box select some of it. Save me some time. Come on, grab it. Okay. Let me unselect these ones. I don't want those. I want those to stay to the wall. Select these ones. And I'm not going to do anything special for this material. We already have that black material that we used for the fireplace, so I'm just going to use that again. Just assign it. And you don't have to worry about this side because it's not in the camera, obviously. So, with that complete, we should be finished with all of the materials. The colors look nice to me. The brick you can mess around with if you want to a little bit. Some like them smaller, some like them bigger, some like more texture, some don't. Just mess around with some of the mapping to it, or some of the normal mapping to it. Aside from that, pretty much all we have left to do is just add the furniture. So the next part of this tutorial is going to be all about adding the objects into the scene. If you have not gone to my website, caseyunderhill.com, CaseyUnderhill.com, I have all of the models there for you. They are free to use models. I made them myself. The textures for them I made myself. You can use them in any other model you want. You don't have to give me credit. You don't have to do anything. All I'm asking for is $5. $5, I'll give you a ton of texture files I took myself, seamless textures. I think they're like 4,000 by 4,000, something like that. It comes with like a couch and a lamp and a table and a coffee table, an end table, a television, a bookcase, a bunch of books. It comes with a whole bunch of everything, and I'm including the finished dot blend for this tutorial, so that you can get in here and you can mess around with it, see exactly what I did. If you are interested in that, just go to my website, check it out. Help support the blender artistry, right? Anyways, go on to part 2 and find out how we're going to add in all the furniture. Thank you guys for watching.